Welcome everyone to today's session, Cloud Migration, Moving Day, ensuring that security makes it on the truck. My name is Blake Sutherland, and joining me today is our special guest, Thomas Grane, CIO and CHRO of Matas, Denmark's leading health and beauty retailer. Welcome, Thomas. Great to see you again.
Thank you, Blake, and thank you for having me.
Oh, certainly our pleasure. Now, before we get in to the conversation, a couple housekeeping items for everyone. First of all, while the title says Moving Day, there should be no heavy lifting involved. In fact, we should be making it really easy for you. But if you do have questions, please use the question and answer application, and we'll try to get answers to you as soon as we can. Secondly, Brian Webster will be following this session with one that is a more technical lift on this topic, and including a demo. So we would encourage everyone to stick around and enjoy that session as well. So maybe by way of context, why don't I lay out the landscape a little bit, and then we'll kick it off, Thomas. So this is one of several sessions on cloud security. And as we all know, digital transformation is a key driver to cloud adoption. And the promise of digital transformation being very simply, the realizing of business benefits as you automate processes with technology. However, the use case that we want to focus on today, we call cloud migration. And it's a pattern we see among many of our customers. And really, the idea is trying to realize very quickly the benefits of cloud, whether it's economics, whether it's scalability, whether it's operational ease of use, or all of the above, by moving existing investments in technology, whether it's the platforms and systems and applications that you've already invested time and money in, and you want to realize these benefits quickly, all the while trying to maintain your compliance and risk goals. So obviously, in such a move, organizations have the opportunity to choose what security makes it on the truck. And in a very similar manner, they're looking for benefits that are economic benefits, scalability benefits, operational ease of use. And this is a chance for them to consider those to help make that move go quickly and smoothly. Now, with that, I'd like to turn it over to Thomas, who is no stranger to digital transformation, having helped Matas grow its online revenue to more than 25% of its overall revenue. And, Thomas, I have to ask the question that everyone has been asking right from the start of this session is CIO and CHRO. Those are two titles that I have never seen together until I met you, and please help us understand.
I understand the confusion. I mean, since I was given this dual responsibility, everybody has been so curious to know how did this start? And to me, actually, of course, it started by my CEO looking at me and saying, Thomas, something is within you that wants to do more than just look at technology. And the funny thing is, this was some 3 years ago. And at that point, Gartner was out stating that by year 2021, which is today, CIOs would probably more influential on company culture than the CHROs. And the reason why this is interesting is that we know that when you do digital transformation, and if you are like me, the CIO who has to conduct the digital transformation, one of the biggest obstacles in doing so is actually the resistance in the organization, being that the culture of how you think and work. So when I was given both roles, I didn't have to argue with another executive about how to go about building the right culture for the road ahead for our digital transformation. So all of a sudden, it makes sense. And now I've reached the point where all my CIO friends from the community, they want me out giving lectures about culture, and all the guys from the organizational point, they want me to give lectures on technology. So we are sort of marrying two different aspects of running a company, and me having both roles is probably something to do with me and not Matas as a company. So that's why and how this came about in Matas.
Well, I mean, certainly that is unique, and who knew that I'd be interviewing a unicorn on this session today? But maybe you could tell us a little bit about some of the digital transformation that's gone on at Matas.
Well, Matas is an old classic physical retailer. We just turned 71, and we've been in physical retail for decades. And 10 years ago, we did what many companies do. We started a loyalty scheme because we wanted to get data on our customers. And this is sort of ground zero of everything that has to do with digital transformation in Matas. And we went from having anonymous data to data that was related to our customers. And at that exact point in time, that was in 2010, I was really curious about what is going to happen to my company. Prior to that, I would probably say I had been doing what I would call operational security, making sure that systems were online and everybody could work and the processes went fine. But now I knew that this was pivotal because something was going to change, because now we got to the point where we got data from our customers that we need to concern ourselves about. So the journey for the past 10 years has been building a whole new way of running the company, adding new channels, the loyalty scheme, the online part, and all the different channels. We are into so many channels as well today, and we've gone from maybe one or two channels to maybe 15 different channels. And all of these channels, they use the data that we set off in 2010 gathering. So it's a journey of data, and it's a journey of going into a space where everything you know and everything you hold from the customer side sits in all your infrastructure. And that's a whole new ball game to me.
Right. Well, it certainly makes as you explain it, being a traditional brick and mortar and going through this digital transformation. And you sort of hinted on a couple aspects that I wanted to drill in there. I mean, as a retailer, you're dealing with personal information, financial information, potentially. As a leading health retailer, you would probably have a portion of individual health records or sensitive health information. How do you ensure that security is married with the applications and goes along with the move?
Well, to me, this is about principles, and it's about preparation. Uh, from the time before the known data, we had some guiding principles on how to build infrastructure and how to do security. And what we set off doing was that these guiding principles need to go along all the way, and we do not want to deviate from them, because we know that they are sort of the foundation of our thinking, and it will help us along the way when we're going to protect our data. And these guiding principles is something about segregating infrastructure into segments, use least amount of VPN to connect different networks. If you are working with a supplier, don't connect their network to your network, because then it's your concern as well. And all these guiding principles has moved along the way as the data has increased. And when you talk about what kind of data we are holding, then certainly you are touching upon something very important, because when you sell the line of products that we do, you can actually derive some sense about your, well, not maybe your medical history, but you might hint something about conditions that might be sensitive. So we are all of a sudden holding our customers' life in our hands with all these huge amounts of data. And it's transactional data, it's data about their behavior on our different platforms, and all this together gather a picture of a whole person that is sensitive to them. And in Europe, where I am working, we have the GDPR, And in 2018, we had legislation that we need to comply to. So not only we worried about our customers' well-being and the data we kept, but now we had to comply to certain rules on top of that. So it really emphasized the role of digital and cybersecurity working with these huge amounts of data.
At 25% of your revenue online, like you're moving very quickly. What advice would you give to others about, setting themselves up so that they can move quickly? Because that's a fundamental of this cloud migration pattern.
Well, you definitely need to take all the knowledge you gathered from running things on premise. We've been spending the last maybe 10 years since we got our customers' data trying to step up in levels of security, and we added new security initiatives all along the way. And we reached a point where we really had a comfortable level of cybersecurity. Now, having to move that to the cloud and using the offers of the different services out there, our thinking is take all the knowledge and all the preparation and all the guiding principles from your on-premise and apply them to the cloud. Because I might be a person that is what do you say, maybe not most trusting in everything that's out there in the cloud. Let me give you a couple of examples. Throughout the past 5 years, we have encountered many providers of private or public cloud solutions where we were astonished by the fact that they were focusing on functionality and speed. And when we talked about simple security on the platform, like strong authentication example, they weren't at that what do you say point in their development. So my learning is that cloud doesn't equal cyber security at the highest level. So that's why preparation is everything. And to me, when I take my guiding principles and I want to move to a cloud, and the cloud that we've chosen is Microsoft Azure Cloud, I need to have some insurance by using the tools that I know from my own backyard. So that's some very guiding, important principles to me.
Well, when I hear that, Thomas, it sounds like you took the design principles and the security principles that you invested in on-premise and use those same principles and pick security controls applicable to the cloud that met those requirements and helped you deliver those same design principles. So that seems to be a good piece of advice on how to move quickly in the cloud. Now, another question for you. What are the attributes that you most appreciate of Trend Micro products and technologies, and why did you select them to be part of your cloud migration strategy?
Well, if you look at cybersecurity for the past 10, 15 years, we've moved from a point where the best way of going about things was to do best of breed. You needed different vendors to have the best possible landscape. You couldn't trust a single vendor, and you needed one technology company for your firewall, one for your web filtering, and one for your mail filtering. But then throughout the years, all of the systems started to collaborate. And what we saw as a leading trend in the market was that if you can get the best possible ecosystem that connects all the dots, then you get sort of a benefit on top of the individual products. And we've been using some of Trend Micro's product. We started off, I think, classically with endpoint security, just using antivirus and stuff like that. But then we moved on to a couple of other pillars. And what we discovered was that when the systems were able to talk to each other, we benefited the most. And then the best of ecosystem started, and we had a lot of conversations with Trend Micro about what's the direction of your security portfolio and what do you think is going to be out there. And as we added the different layers, we saw that what you have to offer meets exactly what we are looking for. To me, security is like an onion. You have layers upon layers upon layers that each have their part in the whole security aspect as a total. And these different layers need to be connected somehow. And at some point, it was maybe a year and a half ago, we came to such an advanced level that the biggest challenge we met was actually taking care of and making sure that each and every event that might happen in our infrastructure was taken care of. And that's when we engaged in managed detection and response, because we needed somebody we could trust to take a look at all the great amount of data and derive only the small parts that we needed to be concerned about. And having taken the step of using MDR lifted a heavy burden off our shoulders, but at the same time, it gave us something uniquely on the cloud journey. Because when we are looking at moving payload to the cloud, we want to make sure that, as I stated earlier, the same level of security complies in the cloud. And now having the ability to use some of the same components in the ecosystem, that it has the ability to send security information to the same team that looks at the security of our on-prem, is sort of marrying both worlds in a beautiful way. And we don't need to buff up our team of experts who has to take care of another portfolio of security products. So it makes it easier for us, and it connects the dots. And finally, when I go to the business and we're just on the brink of moving these 25% of our revenue, the online part, from an private held on-prem data center to the Asia cloud, I can tell my board that you don't need to be concerned, because the security level that I have told you about that we built on-prem, I ensured that the same level is there prior to moving it. And that's probably one of my most important points, that when you move to the cloud, you can't rely on what the cloud provider might say about their level of security. You need to look at your own garden and make sure, am I comfortable with the level that I'm used to on-prem? And will I put my workload and my data and my trust from the customers in the cloud? And having this journey going on now very rapidly, I haven't got the time to look at every single product. I need the baseline of security to be there, and the whole fundamentals and the gathering of events to come together. And then I can comfortably lean back, and the next time I see my board on the yearly review of cybersecurity, I can say, well, hey guys, we implemented the same tools that I told you about we used last year when we had it on-prem. And that's really what makes me comfortable in the journey.
Well, thank you, Thomas. I wish we had more time, and really appreciate your sharing your expertise with us today. Your journey certainly has been an interesting one, and matches, what we hear from a lot of customers in this cloud migration pattern that we hear so often. In particular, it's, around the, looking to operationalize quickly and efficiently because you don't have time to do everything and analyze everything. The needing choice on what and how you build, whether that's multiple clouds, whether that's multiple security controls, or all of the above. It needs to fit the implementation if you're going to move quickly. And I love the last one that you brought up, right? Looking to benefit the SOC operations team with detections, investigation, and response services to help free up their time is certainly something we are seeing an awful lot of. Now, with that, I'd also like to thank the audience for joining us today and remind them that Brian Webster is up next doing a technical demonstration of cloud migration. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.